Okay, so when you guys will be working on the live model, I'll share a pretty useful trick. If you're working on the eyes and you just went back from your break, um, the beginning of the 25 minutes is a good idea to work on the eyes because your models will get tired with time. So towards the end, the expression in the eyes will not be the same as at the beginning. So it's just a good practice to revise the eyes at the beginning. Also, you'll feel you're a bit more refreshed after a break, so you'll be able to identify smaller nuances, smaller mistakes than towards the end. And you can leave like I'm gonna leave the background and the shirt towards the end. So just that's just kind of a little side note. Okay. So at this point for the eyes, I'm using my smaller brush just to break down more specific shapes, without going too much into, um, without necessarily trying to get the overly I mean, it is precise, but it's not like I'm going in the eye and actually getting every single detail out there. Just to get the basic values in there, just with smaller brush strokes. There you go. So just the way we applied our brush strokes with the bigger brush, using a small brush is no different. So I'm just laying down the color, almost kind of putting down the tile and leaving it there without kind of smudging it or pushing it around too much. All right, so let's make sure we get this right. So I'll do the same thing with the other eye. Okay, so now the thing with small brush, unlike our bigger brushes, I'm I'm just using two brushes, but even one brush is okay, only because small brushes have naturally a lot less hair. So when you clean your brush, you're able to clean it much more efficiently than if you're working with a medium brush. So the paint doesn't get contaminated as much. Additionally, as I mentioned at the beginning of the painting process, towards the end, I do sometimes on purpose use one brush to get the opposite of the effect that I'm trying to achieve at the beginning. At the beginning, I'm trying to distribute the values, but towards the end of my painting process, I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to better connect my values. So sometimes having a bit of that mud actually does help to have finer, softer, smoother connections. So while applying my smaller brush, I'm trying to do pretty much the same thing as I did with my big brushes, just going over and applying the appropriate values in with as little brush movement as possible. So I'm here, for example, I'm trying to shape the brush into the shape that I need to describe, and just laying it down there and leaving it there. Right. Another useful thing with a small brush is, for example, around the eyebrows. With my medium brush, I was able to get the general shape, but a small brush will allow me to actually revise not the inner part of the shape, but rather that transition from the skin to the into the brush into the eyebrow. All right, and same thing here. So also, guys, make sure to keep the eyebrows fairly soft. You know, the only part where we've exaggerated the sharpness so far are the eyes, a tiny bit on the certain parts of the nostrils, like the upper parts of the nostrils, but that's pretty much it. And the other part where I will put a bit of a sharper lines is going to be the mouth. I'll do that in a bit, but yeah, for the eyebrows, definitely create a bit of that softer connection. You don't want the eyebrows to be too sharp. Once again, for the same reason as what we discussed with the hair, is that eyebrows is not one thing. It's not like a piece of paper glued on the skin. It's multiple smaller pieces of hair that compose one larger shape, and because it's just multiple smaller items, they're best described with soft transition, soft edge. And at this point, I'm just going over and redefining my my shadow shape here. Actually looking at what the hell is going on here. Sometimes under a lighting like this, you will notice that the eyelashes will have a bit of a drop shadow, so it's pretty cool to observe that and show it in your painting. So at this point, small brush is perfect for these nuances in the changes of form. So rather than keeping your lines very geometric, just kind of a straight line that turns here and there, you're actually observing that small change of the those small changes on the form. So all the, because there are quite a bit of curves as you observe the observe your sitter, and so it's really these precise lines that you know get that resemblance. I mean, technically you get the resemblance from getting the big shapes, right? But at some point, just having the big shapes is not enough. You definitely want to go in, you know, go over your drawing and make sure you observe every little variation of the line. So a small brush will deliver just that. Okay, so as I mentioned before, another part where I will be using a sharper line is going to be the separation of the lips. So before I insert my dark line, I'll actually redefine the light on the lips.
gauche, c'est ça? Qui se match l'œil gauche.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Then you'll, as you'll observe those smaller shadow shapes, you'll notice that at the beginning we created kind of a larger area of the shadow, but you'll actually notice that that large area is divided into even smaller shapes. So that's really where the small brush comes in handy, just to get these areas even more defined. Okay, there's also one thing I just noticed is that my eyes are just need a bit more work in terms of alignment. So actually, speaking of aligning the eyes, it's really helpful to make that alignment at the same time. So I just noticed that I didn't do the proper alignment of the eyes. One of the eyes was looking slightly in a different direction. So it's oftentimes just a matter of finding the appropriate distance from the edges of the eye to here, and I'm just gonna add literally a millimeter on each side, and that's gonna fix the issue. Okay.